Have you ever said yes when everything in you was whispering no? I have, more times than I can count. Maybe for you, it was agreeing to take on one more thing at work, even though your plate was already overflowing. Maybe it was being there for someone else when what you really needed was to be there for you. Maybe it was something that pulled at your time, your energy, your values. We say yes for so many reasons because we care, because we don't want to disappoint, because we're wired to help. But when we never say no, we stop hearing ourselves. We lose the edges of what matters. We blur the lines of our capacity. Welcome back to the Courageous Exchange. I'm Deb Carvel, and today we're getting honest about boundaries. Because boundaries aren't cold or selfish or harsh. They're what protect our energy, our peace, and our ability to lead with heart. Sometimes the most courageous thing you can say is no. Let's start by grounding ourselves in why boundaries matter. Because if you've ever felt unsure about whether you're allowed to set them, this next part is for you. We tend to think of boundaries as something rigid, like they're going to push people away or make things harder. But the truth is, they do the opposite. They create clarity. They give people a roadmap for how to respect us, how to work with us, how to trust us. Psychologist Brene Brown said it best: clear is kind, unclear is unkind. And that applies everywhere, not just at work. If you're leading a team, leading a business, leading a life with a lot of moving parts, boundaries are what keep you from unraveling. In fact, studies in cognitive neuroscience show that when we're constantly saying yes, when we override our own limits, we put our brains into prolonged states of low-grade stress. That kind of stress isn't always loud, but it's there, quietly depleting our focus, our clarity, and even our ability to make sound decisions. So if you've been feeling foggy, irritable, or like you've never caught up, this might be why. Of course, knowing boundaries are important is one thing. Actually setting them, that's where it gets complicated. Let's talk about why that is and what really makes it hard to say no. Boundaries are personal. They challenge our stories about who we think we need to be. You might have been praised your whole life for being helpful, flexible, the go-to person. Saying yes felt like a connection. Until it started costing you your energy and peace. And that guilt, it's real. There's research that shows people experience more internal conflict when saying no than when saying yes, even if yes makes their lives harder. Why? Because we're wired for belonging. We want to be liked, needed, trusted. Saying no can feel like we're risking connection. But what if the opposite is true? What if saying no kindly and clearly actually creates deeper respect and trust? So much of our boundary work lives in the stories we carry about who we need to be, how we need to show up, and what makes us good or strong. Let me share a couple of stories with you. One personal, one professional, both real. I'll start with a story about someone who wasn't in a formal leadership role but was carrying so much. She was a full-time caregiver, supporting aging parents while raising her kids. And she told me, I feel like I'm failing someone every day. She'd set small boundaries, a skipped dinner invite, saying no to last-minute errands, and the guilt would just flood her. But together, we worked on a simple shift. She started asking herself, is this loving for them and for me? That one question helped her see that boundaries weren't about shutting people out. They were about showing up fully without resentment. That changed everything. Now, contrast that with another story. Someone in a high pressure leadership role who felt like she had to say yes to everything: staff requests, extra projects, volunteer boards, you name it. She was so committed to being seen as helpful, available, and strong that she was erasing her own limits. We introduced just one practice. Instead of saying yes on the spot, she'd pause and say, "Let me check my priorities and get back to you." That pause became her boundary. And over time, she started saying yes less often, but with way more impact. Maybe you see yourself in those stories. Maybe not. But chances are you felt the tug, the moment where your body says no, but your voice still says yes. If that's you, I want you to know something. There's no shame in learning this late. There's only power in learning it now. The truth is, boundary work isn't just a leadership strategy. It's a personal awakening. It's where we reclaim space for who we are, not just for what others need from us. So I'll leave you with a spark, something to gently explore without judgment. Where in your life are you saying yes out of guilt or fear when you really want to say no? Write it down. Just acknowledge it. No shame, just awareness. You deserve to be seen, and that starts with seeing yourself clearly. And if you're ready to make this more than a reflection, here's a real-time practice to try. Before your next yes, ask yourself, is this aligned with my values, energy, and capacity right now? And if it's not, you have permission to choose differently. You're not weak for setting a boundary, you're wise. Before we wrap, let's come back to your body, to your breath, to a small shift that can carry you into the rest of your day with more clarity and calm. And I want to leave you with something I use in my own life. It's something my coach once said to me during a session where I felt pulled in too many directions. It stuck with me and I still use it. Right before I walk into a meeting or sit down to record this podcast or to say no to something I know isn't mine to carry, I plant my feet, I take a breath, and I say to myself, get your feet off the ceiling and onto the floor. It's my way of returning to my center, of reminding myself that I can be grounded, present, and clear, that I can care deeply and still have limits. And so can you. I'd love to hear what this stirred for you, what boundaries you're holding, or maybe the ones you're just beginning to name. What's one boundary you've set recently that changed something for the better? Let me know. I want to celebrate that courage with you. That's it for today's episode of The Courageous Exchange. But this conversation, it's ongoing. And I hope it's one you'll keep having with yourself and with the people around you. You don't have to be everything for everyone. You just have to be someone who honors what's true for you. Your no is worthy. Your yes is sacred. And your boundaries, they're a radical act of courage. If you found this helpful, please share it with someone who gives a little too much. Until next time, take a breath, trust your no, and lead with courage.